Hey, everybody, and welcome to Data Drivers. This is our second hackathon, and we are super excited to welcome you to join us for this series. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name's Corey Minton. I am an IT strategist at Splunk, and I'm joined by my co-host, Kyle Prinz. Kyle, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's Friday afternoon. We got a hackathon. What else could you ask for, man? We're
Some good
glad
stuff.
to be here.
That's right. Well, Kyle and I are part of the IT strategist team here at Splunk, and our goal today is to, first and foremost, give you some experience using Splunk, specifically the Splunk Observability Cloud, and get you some hands-on experience with this awesome technology. And the data we're going to be using is from iRacing. Those of you who are into esports, you've probably seen iRacing used as the platform by folks like NASCAR and Indy for their virtual racing series. And it's obviously very popular in the competitive esports platforms. And today we're going to be getting data from iRacing into Splunk Observability Cloud. So sit back, relax, grab a coffee, whatever drink you're into. It's Friday afternoon. We'll not judge, or maybe even Friday evening where some of you are, and why you're hanging out with us. I have absolutely no idea, but thank you. And we're glad to have you. So Kyle, if you jump to the next slide for me, we want to explain why we're here. And you can go one more ahead of that. Data Drivers really is about, as I said, it's about giving you all a chance to get some experience with Splunk's technology, Splunk Observability Cloud, and Splunk, our entire portfolio of IT operations tools are industry leading. They're the best in the industry. If you look at all the analysts, we're number one. And we want folks to be able to learn how to use these tools, but frankly, we want to do it in a fun way. And we find racing on iRacing to be incredibly fun. And it turns out that we have a partnership with between Splunk and McLaren's Shadow Esports team that makes this super relevant. And we're going to have some really good conversations with some leadership folks from McLaren's Shadow Esports team to guide us along the way of why do we build the things that we build with the technology available to us from Splunk. Now, if you want to get your hands on the data and actually get your hands on the Splunk technology and maybe come racing with us the next time on iRacing, you can use this QR code, or we'll put a note in the chat here shortly that you can register, and we will actually send you access to our lab environment where there's already data from racing up there, then data from our gaming rigs that we did last time, and you would get access to that so you can actually get hands-on. And you would be able to join our Discord channel where we're providing not only Kyle and I as subject matter experts in Splunk's IT portfolio, but all of our guest SMEs who come on to join us are also available on Discord to answer questions and help point you in the right ways and direction to learn this technology that, one, is not only fun from an IT and observability perspective with racing, but could totally help you in your day job. So that's why we're here. Let's go to the next slide. As a recap, we are racing, and the races we've got 6 of them. We've had 2 so far. If you missed it on Twitch, we raced yesterday at Brands Hatch. Kyle, how did that go for you?
I don't really want to talk about it, Corey, but that's okay.
No, I had a little bit of a problem with braking bias. He was tinkering.
It was a perfect example of me not listening to my data and just fidgeting around. You never change anything when you're qualifying if you don't have the data to support it, and I did not, and I paid the consequences of that. Anyways,
all good.
We'll try better next month.
That's right. And if you missed the race, you can check it out on Twitch for the next week or so, and then it will live on in perpetuity on Splunk's YouTube channel that we'll provide links to in the chat here shortly. But we've got races coming up next month at Circuit de Spa, staying in Europe for another race. Then we're going over to Australia in late June for Phillip Island Circuit. We'll go to Japan in July, and then we'll wrap things up at Sonoma Raceway, one of the home tracks for Splunkers. Hopefully get a few Splunk executives and some other customers to come join us for that one to see if they're faster than we technologist geeks. So anyways, that's the schedule. Check out the broadcast. They all end up here on Twitch as well. But what's really important for us is not just the racing, it's the getting you hands-on. And our journey that we're taking you on through this sort of 6-month rotation of topics is exactly aligned to what Splunk helps customers achieve in terms of their maturity and adoption of IT tools from Splunk's portfolio to move towards AI ops, right? To focus energy on, the things that matter in IT from an operations perspective, to quiet the noise, to focus on business outcomes, and frankly, spend our time as IT practitioners on activities that are high value and connect back to our mission as a business. So we started out with infrastructure. That's kind of where everybody starts in IT. Now we're going to get some business context data today with iRacing, because our customer in this journey is McLaren's Shadow Esports management team. So we're not just building this stuff for the sake of racing. We're actually building things that team can use from a data and an insights perspective to guide and make decisions as to how they run the business of their esports racing team. So this is the last one where we're going to focus on getting data into Splunk, which is in any data analytics journey is a big part of what you try to do, right? Which is collect the data, wrangle the data. Frankly, the wrangling is pretty easy in Splunk and Observability Cloud. So it's really just about connecting to the applications and instrumenting them appropriately. But next time we're going to start focus on how do you start to really create some powerful insights? And we're going to use IT service intelligence to build KPIs. We're going to build service level views into the races and kind of dig into car health, racer input health, those kind of things, build racing visualizations for the management team. And we're going to start to use some machine learning to do data to action, right? Building custom thresholds that are based on machine learning to actually start to identify when are things not looking like they should at a scale that's beyond human comprehension. So come with us on the journey. Again, you've got great subject matter experts to help you. Kyle, if you go to the next slide for me. Now, as I said, you have the opportunity to not just passively consume this on Twitch. While you're welcome to, you can hang out, you can make some comments in the chat. Feel free, like that's all goodness. We're here. Maybe this is inspiring to you to like go tinker in your own lab, right? And that's cool. Be nice. So don't troll the comments. Like be nice. We always ask people to be nice. That's generally a good thing to be nice anyway. But if you want to get hands-on, register via the QR code. It's actually on the side of the screen. I'm pointing the wrong direction on the stream. It's up there. It's up there. See that QR code right there? If you use your phone to scan that, it'll take you to a registration page. You can register for the races and for the hackathons, the ones you're available for, whatever. And if you do that, then you'll be invited to our Discord channel that'll give you access to all the, the API keys and the scripts and the things that we use. You'll be able to go racing with us on iRacing. Caveat, iRacing, if you're not familiar, it's not free. You have to pay for iRacing membership. It's got some barriers to entry, but if you're into it, like feel free to come racing with us. And then the hackathons, obviously you'll get access to some of that stuff as well. Okay, next slide. So as a recap for the format, just like we've done in our last hackathon, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to introduce you to the challenge. We're going to go get some perspectives from the McLaren Shadow Esports management team. Then we're going to get a quick overview of the Splunk technology that we're going to need to use in order to meet the challenge objective of the hackathon. Then we're going to jump in with Kyle, and we've got a guest with us today that I'm super excited about. He's going to join us to actually collaboratively talk about how you build the capability to pull data from iRacing, get it into Splunk Observability Cloud, and begin to visualize it. Really neat. Once we've achieved the objective together and we've shown you how to do it, and we've gotten some feedback that y'all are getting it and you kind of know what you're doing, we'll leave you with some bonus challenges. We've got some ideas of ways that you can go a step further than what we're going to be able to cover in the session. And then we'll give you a preview of what we're doing next. All right, let's do this. I think it's time now for us to introduce the challenge. Again, the basic challenge is get iRacing telemetry data, so telemetry metrics, into Splunk. In this case, we're using Splunk's Observability Cloud, which is industry-leading metrics engine for dealing with this kind of telemetry data. And we're going to be using the Python iRacing SDK in a GitHub repository called IRSDK by Kutu. We're going to use it as the basis for getting the data out of iRacing and then writing a script to write the data to Splunk Observability Cloud. If you're joining us and you've registered, you should check Discord now. We're going to give you, we've already provided you with lab credentials via email. The access token is the same one from last time, but if you're new, we'll be putting that in the chat. We'll give you the region info and links to the IRSDK library, so you can do some readmes on the GitHub, and our Big Data Beard virtualrace.conf GitHub, which some of this is based on, but some of it is completely new because we're migrating how we're using the data.
There's been some changes, yeah. And one thing I think to call out here too on the hackathon, if you're new, is today's hackathon does require you to have iRacing installed locally on your machine. Now we are sensitive that, hey, that does cost money. You may not be fully into that. We will, for future hackathons, you will have data to play with out of that we'll be generating for you. So this one is a bit of a unique hackathon today for that. But without getting too far ahead of ourselves, Corey, I'll go ahead and advance the slide.
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you, just if you're already in there poking around, which you are certainly allowed to
Yeah.
be doing so. You can search, if you search back by this week, then you will see lots of data, and sort by drivers in your fields. Look for either my name or Kyle's name, and you will see the script up and running. You'll see a bunch of data flowing in, and you'll be able to hone in on some times. And if you're live, Kyle, we'll preview. Kyle actually has iRacing running currently on his rig that we're presenting from, which, by the way, is probably not the best idea in the world because of resource constraints, but we're doing it for you. And so anyways, we've got iRacing running. So there is some live data being created. So if you are in there poking around right now, look at Kyle's name, and you can go look at some saved dashboards under both my user account and Kyle, which you can easily find. And we'll show you how to do that here in a second. But before we go any further, it is important for any, and as somebody I've been around Splunk a long time, but I've been around, sort of big data and analytics projects for many, many years. And a fundamental truth is that it doesn't matter what you can or can't do with technology or with data. What matters is what problem you can solve and what use case you can deliver on, because all of it without that is just tech for tech and math for math's sake. It's neat, it's interesting, it makes your propeller on your hat spin, but you got to drive an outcome. And the outcome we're trying to drive in this particular study and in this particular hackathon is, how do we serve the needs of a team manager from a professional esports team? And with that, I'd like to turn it over. We're going to jump into an interview that we did this week with Tobin Lee. He's the manager of Shadow McLaren Esports. Let's jump into it. Well, we are back with another edition of Shadow Perspectives with team manager Tobin Lee from McLaren's Shadow Esports team. Tobin, welcome back. And congrats on what was an incredible performance in the V10 R League last week.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really good to be back, and straight off the back of that race up against Team Fordzilla. So, yeah, good to start getting back into the data though, because this is the stuff that makes it happen.
There you go. Excellent. Well, glad to have it. Well, so last week we covered getting lots of data in from our infrastructure that runs the race, but now we want to talk about the data that we're going to get in from the race itself and from iRacing. And so much like an F1 team, which you told us, think about this as an F1 sort of event and focus. F1 cars, they create more than 300 metrics during a race, right? There's 300 individual metrics being created many times per second. And that's pretty similar because we get more than 300 metrics off of the iRacing sim. And so I'm curious from your perspective, if you could guide us, what are the most, critical, not just the metrics, but what's the most critical information or insights that are the top priority that we should build for you as a team manager? So thinking about in race, what are the things that matter to you as the manager?
Yeah, well, the first metric that comes to my mind immediately is the one that all drivers will usually, this is the bit that they'll struggle with, is the tire wear. Now, tire wear, obviously, across a stint can be game changing. You might be rapid in one lap, and the lap time will tell you that you're doing really well. However, if you look beneath the surface, what the data might show is that you're actually scrubbing the left front tire, and then later on into a stint, you won't be so quick. And then suddenly those that were going a little bit slower but looking after their tires are doing much better. So immediately that one of tire wear really speaks to me.
Okay.
I think that additionally, is other kind of factors that we've got going on are quite interesting, like weather. If there's any data around weather and what, not necessarily even on the car, but what's happening for the track, that can be game changing as well. So yeah, to me, it's those two are the most important on game day and on race day. And yeah, I think that's kind of where my thought is leading me at the moment.
Very cool. Now, if we were to pull all of this data together and build a dashboard for an in-race review for the driver, what would be the top items you would just want to take a quick glance at?
I think so. With this, it's important to remember that when we're in a race, we try not to talk too much or to give too much data to these guys, because really their focus needs to be on the driving. And so it's literally only the critical stuff that we need, right? And that is damage is a really big one. You know, if there's been a crash, can we identify where the problem is, and can we notify them so that they can then make sure that they're not making the problem worse? Again, tire wear and weather, those two are always going to pop up because they game changers. And to be honest, that's it. Like any more, and we start going into the realm of just being a bit overkill and saying too much. So yeah, I think that that covers literally everything that we really need on race day.
So tire wear and weather, and which is funny because going into this, that's not where I would have thought you were going, which is fantastic because I think that guides and gives us some insight that clearly is not intuitive to us that are unindoctrinated in the world of professional esports. So when we think about the car, like, you know, in iRacing, there's a bunch of different tire metrics that we can get. Like, do you have things beyond just tire wear or other metrics and things about the car, about damage, that are maybe interesting during the race? Or is there things that you look at like post race that maybe we need to have from a reverse sort of investigation viewpoint that would be interesting to know about the car and about what happened during the race?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, even before race day, I think instead of going post race, it's more pre-race is really important, right? So I think having data that can assist with our car setups is really important. So with that, I'm thinking immediately I'll go straight to aero. You know, are there any metrics there that can help with how the aero and the wing settings, which are the two kind of highest level setup tweaks that we'll typically make? Is there any data there that could help with that? And I think that all of these pre-race metrics that we can look at will then influence the race day tire wear and weather or whatever. And I think, again, I think it's car setup is the important thing there, just away from race day, which would be really helpful, just to assist and give that extra little bit of knowledge to the drivers that they can't maybe get through feel alone. So yeah.
Wow. This is getting pretty pretty in depth, and it's wild to see that we're taking data and then making decisions on the future of it. It's not necessarily a retrospective as much as it is taking the data that's currently happening and then making the future decisions off of that. Is there something specific that we could calculate from the data that we could collect that you think might give us a competitive advantage? So without, you know, revealing too much secrets, is there something there that we could maybe try and help put together for the series that you think would be interesting?
Yeah, I mean, so to wrap it to my, you know, you probably won't be surprised to hear me go back to tire wear, right? So I think immediately it would be amazing to get a tool that could use AI and logs of what stints have looked like in terms of the tire wear, and look at trends linking almost driver input and then tire wear, to work out what the most efficient way to drive across a stint is to maintain your tires, because that will have an effect on the lap times, and then that's what gives you, you know, not only better strategy options because you will be more kind to your tires, but also you'll just be quicker across the stint. So that, like, I think focusing in on that area is the one that would get the most, it would be most useful for us, because that's the hard bit that feel is often kind of, you know, it can be tricky to manage during a race day.
Yeah, it's interesting to me though, and I love these insights. These are absolutely the things we're going to go work on now. What's interesting to me though too is, like, I start thinking about how different some of those opinions and feelings about the data would be in the feel on different types of races. And so if folks haven't tuned into the V10R League, you got to check out these races, because the format is really sort of interesting, because you have these short relays where it's a sprint, you know, as a team of drivers that are trying to get a single or a couple of laps of just all out speed. Then there's a longer section where then tire wear is actually, you know, it's going to be a different sort of concern. And then I know you all compete in a number of these, you know, endurance events, these 24-hour sort of races that, I mean, you talk about having a competitive advantage, like tire wear in that situation and weather over a 24-hour period becomes such a variable. I just love the idea that these sort of section, the setups and the sessions has an impact on how we think about the data. So for those of you who haven't tuned in to the to the V10R competitive racing series. If you're here in the US, it's on ESPN. You can watch it on demand on the ESPN app on your Apple TV. Watch Team Shadow McLaren go out there and fight it out. And y'all's next race up is against Williams, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Ooh. I know they're a powerful team, and I wish you and the team best of luck. And thank you again, Tobin, for giving us perspectives from the Shadow McLaren esports team. All right. Well, it is super fantastic to have Tobin join us, give us perspective. I think we were all surprised by I was totally expecting I need time maps, I need sector times, and it got super focused on weather, where of the tires, things that it just didn't. I don't know. I should have known that as as a team manager.
I thought it would be water weight of the driver or some crazy specific scientific, oh my gosh, how do we measure that? No, it's
fantastic. Well, very good. Well, that's the perspective. Now it's time to get a little bit of a primer on what is the Splunk technology that we're going to use today to bring iRacing data into Splunk Observability Cloud. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you all to Harnit Singh. Harnit is a principal observability strategist at Splunk, one of our brothers of the strategist group, just focused totally on observability and the DevOps community. Harnit, welcome to Data Drivers, buddy. How you doing today?
Hey, Corey and Kyle. Thank you for having me. I'm good. It's I live in the East Bay, so it's pretty nice and warm today.
Nice. So I see you playing a sport there that looks like somebody ran over your baseball bat. Did you lose a bet? What is that?
Hey, that's a sport that predates baseball. If you look it up, it was started in the 1800s. So I grew up in India, and when the British came, they brought over this sport called cricket, which I'm a big fan of. You can see me with a trophy. I won a local. It's unfortunately a bronze level trophy because I wasn't good enough to win gold or silver, but it's the only one that I have. So.
I'm impressed. Either way, you got a trophy, but it looks like you got some cute kids there too, and that's let's be honest, that's better than any trophy.
Yeah, well, there are days when I like the trophy. No, but it's I used to be into sports a lot. Now I'm fat and I can barely move, so it's mostly spent handling and running after the kids.
Welcome to pandemic life. It's a real thing. Well, very good. Well, Harnit, I tell you what, here's what we want to do. If you wouldn't mind, just spend a few minutes giving folks just a primer, enough information so that we really grok. I'll use a Bay Area term. We grok what this Splunk Observability Cloud is all about so that we can go actually build something meaningful.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I guess the first thing we want to talk about is what does observability mean, right? So it's really a concept. You can think of it as a gauge or a level because everything's observable. As a simple example, right? I drive a Civic and the speedometer tells me everything's fine. If I don't have an engine light on, I think everything's okay. I can drive from one place to another. But those sort of tools are not good enough to win an F1 race for me because you care about the water weight of the F1 racer and the wear and tear, right? Those sort of things, you need better sensors to get that data to make you win that race. So you can think of observability in the same way. If you have poor tools, you can get some data out. But if you want to be the best, then you want to get the best tools to get all of that data out. So we talk about three sets of data that exist. So when you want to observe any system, you have metrics, you have traces, and you have logs. And metrics are able to quickly tell you whether you have a problem. Traces tell you where that problem is, and logs tell you what the problem is. So if you move on to the next one, I can get into a little bit of detail around what metrics look like, right? So let's say you have a few set of users talking to one application, which is then talking to another application. So app one, app two, you can think of this as you're driving the car, you're sending data to iRacing, which is app one, and then iRacing is sending data to Splunk or somewhere else, which could be app two. So you're measuring how each application is behaving, how much input it's getting. So you have a metric name called requests per second, how many requests are coming through to each application. You have labels that tell you which application this belongs to. You have a value and you have a time. And that's about it. So metrics will tell you, hey, your requests are going down or they're going up. And they're coming from this application, and no more than that. But it's still enough in certain cases to tell you, hey, requests are 0, go figure things out. And then if you move on to the next one, we can talk about what traces do, right? So traces are able to give you a visual map and give you a waterfall view into how and where the problem exists, right? So you look at the left, this is what a typical trace would look like. You have like anything that you do, you as a user interact with application 1, which interacts with application 2. Each one sends a tiny piece of information, but they're all linked together by something we've highlighted in brown, which is the trace ID. So if that ID is unique across every event that's coming in, we can stitch it all together. And then you have something called parent ID that tells you, hey, this piece of information has a parent association, so I can then link things together. So application 2 tells me I'm linked to application 1, and application 1 says I have no parent, so I'm getting some information from an external user. So we're able to give you an automatic map around it and give you a waterfall view into what's going on. And then
So
finally, oh, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
No, go ahead, Harna. You might answer my question.
No, I was going to go to the next slide.
Yeah, so a trace ID then would be like a unique identifier for the information as it flows through the system. Would that be?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like a tracking number.
Yeah. Okay.
That is exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah, when you
And
need
then-
things, Harnett, when you need things dumbed down, give the information to the dumbest guy on the call, and that's me, and I'll help you out with it. It's fine.
I may beat you on certain days. So, and then finally we have logs, right? So logs are, I think, something that everybody's familiar with. You can have 2 different types of logs. You can have unstructured, so you don't really know what you're sending, like what each term means, but you're sending some data. So if you have some context prior, you can understand what all of that means. And then you have structured data, which gives you explicit keys and values to tell you, hey, this is the host, this is the priority, this is the application, this is the process ID, and this is the exact message. So in my case, right, if I have a problem in application 1, I can go figure out from the logs that tell me, hey, I'm having a connection timeout. This is the exact problem I'm having. And that's why you need all 3. Metrics will tell you you're having a problem. Traces will tell you where you need to go look for the problem. And then logs tell you what the problem is. And that's where, if you move on to the next slide, like the observability cloud comes in, because we want to tie all of that together. And then we have different products to give you different visuals around it. So metrics are going to be coming into your infrastructure monitoring product. Traces are coming into the APM product. And then logs are coming to the logs observer product. There are a couple of other products that I won't get into, but in general, the idea is when you have a problem, you want a single place to go in and figure out what the root cause of the problem will be.
And just, I mean, for those of you who maybe know Splunk well, right, have been around Splunk for a long time, like logs were Splunk's kind of home game, right? That was Splunk built its software originally on logs as an IT operations tool that, I mean, it was, the early days, people called it the Google of logs, right? It was the idea that you could search through intelligently. But as the world has moved towards digitization of so many services, that the log is oftentimes no longer the right latency of information that's necessary to understand what's happening, because not everything needs to be a backward looking investigation. Oftentimes you need a forward looking, a real time and forward looking view, and metrics get us closer to that, where there are values that can be processed much more rapidly. And this ability to then instrument more applications as things have become more digital gives us that larger view of what's going on in an overall service, which is really the big idea. So what we're doing with Splunk Observability Cloud is, giving folks the ability to instrument more and use the right tools at the right time for the right outcomes desired. I think is maybe a way to say it. So sorry, just want to sum that up.
That's very, very appropriate. Like you can sort of think of metrics as the most compact way of representing logs. And if they're super compact, they're easy to add and they're easy to then process and alert against.
Yeah, which is why
Basically,
we're
they're
using them
gonna
for iRacing. They're lightweight, they're fast, right? We're getting them 6 times a second. Like we're getting tons of data, but it's just real lightweight and easy. It's like a dashboard in your car.
Exactly. So that's the I think this screenshot sort of represents what you can do in the product. If you have metrics, traces, and logs, you have visuals into each one of them, and then down below you have an easy way to jump from one point to another, right? So you can come into your metrics, and then if we see traces coming from the place that you're sending metrics from, you can go look at traces. And then if your traces contain some logs, you can go look at logs. So you can go easily pivot from any point to another point and continue your investigation.
All right. So let's kind of restate the challenge a little bit so we're on the same page, right? Thank you, Harnett, for giving us the update on Splunk's Observability Cloud. I will say, if folks aren't aware, on May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, grab a margarita or whatever south of the border, that's the American border, drink you like to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. It's also Observability Day for Splunk. We've got a huge event. Just go Google Splunk Observability Day. It'll come up, register. Fantastic event. We'll have some fun. However, we're going to use this Observability Cloud to get data into Splunk. But before we do that, we need to kind of level set on a couple of things related to iRacing so that you all have the context to help you build the thing that we need to build. So let's go to the next slide. So the first thing to know is that if you've seen sort of Kyle and I talk in the past about iRacing at .conf, or you've listened to our podcast where we talk about it on Big Data Beard, we like iRacing because it is a wealth of data. An actual F1 car spits off more than 300 data points during an F1 race. Well, iRacing creates more than 400 data points detailing an insane granularity of things happening in the race simulation. And we can kind of classify them as things that are happening at the car level, like think, engine temperature, oil pressure, manifold temperature. So you're getting airflow into the engine. I mean, all kinds of crazy metrics, which would be good to serve Tobin's requests for, kind of driving characteristics that are impacting the health of the car. You get track information. So things like, track conditions, track temperature, as if it was measured by the team going out and doing temp probes around the track. You get environmental data. So just about the environment around us, whether it's, kind of the cloud cover, the ambient temperature, relative humidity. You actually get information about your computer. So, your CPU and GPU utilization is being spit out by these APIs. And you also get session information. And session information is things like, lap times and are you in the pit or not? Are you, what's the session state? Is it practice, qualifying, or race, right? And all this information is useful into some stage, but it's not all the same. Some of the data is a very clean, easy metric, right? That is, think of it as Harnett said, a key value pair, right? It's at this time, the right rear tire temperature at the middle of the tire is this temperature, right? And it's a value that is real easy. Some of the data is Boolean. It's different types. It's not just integers and strings. It's state data and kind of phase data. Some of the data is indexed, meaning that it has nested in the metric some additional values that you really have to have some context of what the data and the metric is trying to show you to really understand and parse and make use of it. So it's good to understand. Now, what we've done is, and I'll drop this link in the Discord, if you go check out the iRacing SDK or IR SDK GitHub page, there's a variables file that's a text file detailing the more than 40 or 400 data points with sort of a glossary that explains in real terms, what the heck is this thing? And I encourage you to go look at it as you start to think about, data sources that you want to bring in. It's incredibly helpful to guide you as a glossary of what all these things mean, like RR, where L. I didn't realize that until we read it, like it's literally every tire. So right rear tire, it's getting 3 temperatures across that tire that's 10 inches wide. It's getting a left, middle, and right temperature reading. Like it's crazy, but you could use that for Tobin's outcome. Okay. So it is a data gold mine. Go understand it. Dropping the link in Discord now. Go check it out because it will be formative to understand how to index or how to think about visualizing and ingesting the data.
Cool. So like Corey said, there's a lot of stinking data. And it's really fun to be able to pull that out. Now, because we are using some open source frameworks and some things like that, we are going to be pretty in the weeds today, which I know could be overwhelming for some people. Sit tight, hang with us. We'll work through it. We are available via Discord. So if you don't get it right off the bat, sit back, watch how we do it. And I'm happy to set up a Discord stream and I'll walk through how to do it and answer some questions later today or next week. So, please don't be discouraged if this gets a little too codey for you. It's okay. We are using Python. And Python is the most popular programming language that we've seen. Harna, I'm sure you can agree, Python and Go at this point, if you're looking to be an SRE or a DevOps engineer, would you say there's any other languages that would be more relevant than those two?
Python's fantastic. It's probably the easiest to get started with. So I'm a big fan of Python.
Yeah, in the past year, I've gone from knowing very little of it to being able to build some scripts, some Splunk add-ons even, which have been super helpful for me and my understanding then of being able to grow. But within Python, odds are it's probably already installed on your machine. If it's not, python.org/downloads, grab it there. You can download it from the Microsoft Store, but I've found it's a bit easier if you just grab it from python.org and install it that way. You tend to get a bit more of a complete download. And I only say that, and it's a little vague, I know, but we spent a few days kind of tinkering with it, and we found that that's the easiest way to do it. Now, pip is an installer for Python, so much in the same ways that you can do, sudo apt-get and get a framework or a library in a Linux machine. You can do pip install and grab these libraries. So just like Kutu's iRSDK library, you can do pip install iRSDK and pull that down. Now, we'll be literally doing that here in just like 2 minutes. So don't get too concerned just yet. Now, the other part of this that we have to worry about is the Kutu iRacing SDK. Now, that's the GitHub link. Corey's dropped it in the Discord channel. So if you're watching this on Twitch and you're wondering, hey, where is this? Come join us on the Discord channel. I
can drop that one into. I can drop it into Twitch.
Sweet, we'll drop it into Twitch, so you'll be good to go.
Now
this was built by Kutu. He's a iRacing fanatic. He's a Twitch streamer, so be sure to follow him there. Builds a lot of interesting and unique integrations. So even down to like track overlays, specific overlays. It's if you're the least bit into data or racing, it's absolutely fascinating to watch on Twitch. So please go give them a subscribe. Twitch streamers, they love followers. So we want to give a proper shout out there. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll tell you, if you watched our races and you saw the overlays that we run where it's got like the leaderboard and the track map, that's all based on the same iRacing API. We're just leaning on that he's actually figured out a way to make it easy to package it as a Python library to make it easier to exfil the data and configure. It's kind of like it's like a cheat code in old school gaming terms, right? It's literally like, and actually great analogy, it's like if you know Splunk IT service intelligence, it's like a content pack. You just deploy it, it makes it easier. Stuff just works out of the box. It's like a Splunk app. It's a shortcut for us not having to get a full understanding of how iRacing, built their API stack and all the, we don't have to go into Postman and do all the calls and make sure we get the gets and the push. No, just install this.
So there's also the vars.txt file. So the values that you're seeing weren't pulled out of magic air. There's a literal list, and I'll showcase that. You can see what all we have there. The last part that we'll be using is the SignalFx Python library. Now, this is on GitHub. SOC was formerly named SignalFx, and this is the Python library that goes with it. You can install it via pip install SignalFx, and that will get what you need into that. Now, with this, Harnett, we use the SignalFx library. What's some of the value that you get of the SignalFx library for Python? Like, why would we want to use that?
Very similar to what you said before. It'll just make it easy to start sending data. You don't have to go worry about opening up a request and then figuring out what the endpoint is. You just say, hey, this is one place you want to collect data. this is how you want to send it. It makes it super easy. It also compacts the information down. So without getting too into the weeds, it sends data over as protocol buffers, which are going to save on networking costs a lot if you're sending a lot of data. And then you can also do, like, you can stream data out of it as well. So if you've already sent data to the system and it's continuously sending in, you can open up a Python application and say, grab the data live, do some calculations on it, and then send it to wherever else you want to send it to.
Which is huge, you know, for anybody who's wanting that sub-millisecond latency, or being able just to open up a stream of data and have all that sent, which I'll have to hassle you after the Twitch stream. I have a couple more questions on that we'll get into the weeds.
It's
Maybe
true.
we'll move on.
We're all learning something. And
Yeah,
I want to repeat that for you all on the other end of this Twitch stream. This is an incredible learning opportunity. Kyle and I learn every single time we start deploying these things. We learn a ton about our own technology, about applications like iRacing and these SDKs, how they work. But it's fun because we're talking about racing. So I hope you all are using this for exactly what we designed it to be, which is a learning experience to get hands-on with technology that, I mean, if you're not a, you know, you're not a subscriber to this technology, you don't have it, your, you know, the company you work for in IT doesn't have these tools, getting access to it, you know, with real data already created for you, there's a little bit of work involved. Sure, you can download a free one, build your own app, but like to have a lab environment that's stewarded by, you know, strategists from our team that are available to you on Discord to give you guidance, advice, coaching on where to learn more. If you have any questions about anything else, is really a unique opportunity. So take advantage of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's
now,
do
with that being
this.
said, we're going to jump into the code. So let's put on
Let's get
our
weird.
hacker hats and get weird.
I really need to have some music, like some weird coder music going at this point.
Yeah,
like
techno,
like Dr. Robot, sort of dark.
Yeah.
Or not Dr.
That's really
Mr.
the only
Robot.
show that's Mr. Robot. Yeah.
Dr. Robot. I'm an idiot.
So here's
that's when that's after he got a graduate degree in statistics and he really caused trouble.
I can't even with you today. It's Friday afternoon. So just for anybody who has a question here, Python 3 right here, release for Windows, python.org/downloads/Windows. GitHub right here is what we're playing with. We'll be running through some of this, and then that vars.txt file. Here's all the information we need. Now, one thing that I do want to call out with this, that as you are playing with it, these are is that metric? Yeah, metric measurements. So if you're in America and you're used to miles per hour or PSI, Fahrenheit, you know, we are going to have to do some adjustments on the fly. So, and we can actually do that within SOC, and we'll showcase that here in a bit as well. So where you are within the world, we'll show you how to convert it to your own country's standard unit of measurement.
As Kyle's known to call them, freedom units.
Freedom units, yes. You know, if our dashboard's not red, white, and blue, what are we doing? You know. So github.com, we have the Python client library for SignalFx as well. You can see how to get it installed. If you ever want to, you know, hack together some stuff on your own, here's where you can find a lot of the information. Now, there's also Splunk communities. There's the Splunk Slack channel, Splunk user group Slack channel, as well as Splunk Answers. Those are all wonderful communities. If you ever have any questions, just drop in there. Hey, I need help, or where do I find this? Somebody will be happy to help you out there. Okay, we've done enough talking.
Shameless plug. That's actually the user group channels for Splunk, and I'll drop the link to the user group channel. Are oftentimes responded to by the Splunk trust members, who are the elite Splunkers in the Splunk community who have helped most people. Like, that's their focus. Kyle, do you have your?
So happy you asked.
So Kyle is actually a member of the Splunk Trust. So prior to joining Splunk, Kyle, along with Brett Roberts of the Big Data Beard and Tom West, another member of the Big Data Beard team, were all inducted this year. Tom West was inducted the year before, but all members of the Splunk Trust. So if you're on the user group and you need help, somebody like Kyle wearing a fantastic hat
with the fez.
Well, it's called a fez. Will be on the other end to help you. That tells you how lovely and kind he is to help you.
Yeah, I gotta make sure my hair is looking still okay. You know, we are
too strong. We're strong.
No, it's a wonderful community. I'm very thankful to be a part of it. extremely intelligent, compassionate people who love the product and the community and want to make it better. So they are always available and happy to help. Slack user groups is the easiest way to get a hold of anybody from the trust. And I'm in there. You can DM me or Discord or smoke signals. There's a ton of ways to get a hold of us. So, okay. So Python version, the first step, obviously, again, is we need to have Python installed. And the easiest way to do that, open up a command prompt on your Windows machine, Python version. We have Python 3.8.3. It's not the latest, but that's okay. We'll do that. Now, when Python is installed, normally, I think past Python 3.4, pip the installer was installed along with it. And just to do some version checking on that, we'll make sure that we got pip installed. Perfect. And then if you're following along, you have Python installed, pip installed, and you're good to go. Here's how difficult it is to install the SignalFx Python library. Pip install SignalFx. As you can tell, I've already had the requirements satisfied, so easy to go there. You'll probably see some downloads happening there, but I'd say probably by this point, if you pushed enter right after I did, you probably already installed. Now, on top of that, you are going to need to install the PyIR SDK from Kutu. It helps when you spell it correctly. There we go. And that's been already satisfied as well because it's been installed. Now, one thing to call out is that PyYAML is a dependent on the PyIR SDK. So pip install PyYAML. If that fails, and then just go up and do PyIR SDK as well. So that's what we need to do to get that going. Now, if you want to test that the iRacing PyIR SDK is running, here's the steps you'll want to do for that. Now, I want to give you the basic troubleshooting steps. That way, hey, if you're wanting to play with this at night, over the weekend, you know how to troubleshoot it. So the first thing to do is open up your iRacing environment. As you can see, I've got my iRacing simulator open. I have a Logitech steering wheel off to the corner, that beautiful Big Data Beard pit crew right there. And all of that is on tradingpaints.com. So if you're wanting to ever tinker with any of it, please knock yourself out. We are trying to figure out how to do a Splunk hoodie pit crew, which I think would just be awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a question while you're doing that, Kyle. There was a question on Twitch that somebody was asking, in order to access the Discord channel, do you need to register? I just want to say for anybody else listening, yeah, you do. We're keeping Discord sort of protected under that registration solely because we're providing access to some unique lab information that we just want to make sure that we at least get some information from who we're granting access, so that if anybody does anything nefarious, we at least have some idea of who you are. And by the way, we're the world's leading cybersecurity software platform, so we know if it's you.
and honestly, Discord is a wonderful community then to be able to, hey, if you've got a question over the weekend of your racing and you got a question with the script, I get it on my phone. Corey, I think you get notifications all the time. We're here and happy to help. We're passionate about this. So yeah, please, do yourself a favor, sign up on Discord. We just like it to hang out with y'all. And, we even drop some practice times and practice races in there as well that you can jump onto iRacing and race with us. So please do join. But again, what we've got here is the iRacing simulator running. It's in a windowed environment. As you can see, I'm just driving around the corner. But what I just want to showcase is that the iRacing simulator is running. And then we're going to verify that by following along on the Kutu's steps right here. So that is just an easy check. So we'll do Python to jump into the Python command prompt, and then just do import IR SDK, which imports the library, the iRacing library for that. And then IR SDK, IR.startup, which is just going to start up that service. And then we can do a print screen or print of the IR and the value speed to actually pull in the speed of it. Now, that is, not fast at all. So let's have a little bit of fun. Don't text and drive, but program and drive virtually. So if we get this car rolling, now this is kilometers per hour.
Is it?
However,
I thought it was meters per second.
Oh, you're right. It is meters
Yeah.
per second. That's right.
Yeah, we had to
That's
do that. we had to Google the conversion.
Yeah. So if you see on my right side, we're actually doing about 70 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, but we're running it in meters per second, printing it out. So we've we're going to use some sock magic later and to convert that to miles per hour. And I'm sure you already know how to do that. But it was pretty exciting to find.
Kyle, just for the listeners, you are driving and typing at the same time, right? That was very impressive for me. I just wanted
Yes.
you to let everybody else know what you're doing.
Steering wheel right here, and yeah.
And he's actually got a foot on the pedal, so he's like spread eagle over there driving. And
I feel like I grew up in the country, so it's like the rural mail delivery driver where they don't even do the right hand car; they're just sitting in the passenger seat going,
yeah.
Yeah. My uncle actually does that.
I would have offered to have my iRacing up and going, but I think we may be taxing this thing as it is with the stream. So that's for y'all's benefit, not to have me on there. Also, I'm kind of terrible at it.
So you can do any of these values that you see here. You can pop them into that. It just doesn't have to be speed. So you can do things like lap. We're on lap 3 of this session. You can do oil temp, RPMs is another good one that's really interesting. So again, easy enough. I'm going to go ahead and put my foot on the gas right now. And let's see. We're getting quite a bit more rev.
Yes.
Yeah, so I hope that
McLaren's tuned up, sounding nice too, I'm sure.
ready to go. Yeah, so that's kind of the basis of what we're doing. We're going to be pulling a lot of those values out of the vars.txt file into a Python loop that we've built, and we're going to use the SignalFx Python library to then send that payload in a structured format like Harnett showed into Splunk Observability Cloud. So I'm going to exit out of the Python command prompt and then just go ahead and close that command down. I use VS Code to program. It's free from Microsoft. I love it. I think it's been really good.
Can you go full screen on that just so we can make it less noisy on the screen? Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. So this is the Python script. You on Discord, we dropped it in. So you can actually open this up. I love VS Code. If you've got another text editor you like, great, use that. And what we've got here then is our libraries that we're calling in. And I believe some of these we don't necessarily need, but for ease of use, here we go. Here's where you're going to want to insert your variables. So obviously my name's Kyle Prince. That's where I put it. This ingest token is a SOC API token. And what that is that token is specific to me. Typically, Harnett, we would not want to be sharing this token on the internet, right?
Yes. Yeah. You probably want to disable this token once the feed ends. And generally, like best practice would be like if you want to deploy this, you can use an environment variable. So when you start it up, read from the environment variable and then go inject it into the code.
And just so everybody knows, if you're in the Discord, in the hackers text channel, I've dropped a copy of the appropriate token for you to use for an ingest token that you can use as a team. So it'll be there. And if you're signing up, I know that actually fantastic chat happening, by the way, on Twitch right now. I know you guys are fully focused on this, but fantastic questions. Folks were saying like, hey, I don't know if I can be on for all these things. And I said, hey, sign up. Like, you can tinker in your own time. You can go back and watch this stuff later. But yeah, access to the Discord channel is critical for you to get